Well, hello, my friends. Welcome, welcome, guys, to another. Actually, it's a huge edition of the Revelation Report. I'm Troy Brewer, coming at you strong from my office here in Big Time Burleson, Texas. Sitting at the table, and where you cannot see, is Miss Mildred Hooper. Also, too, is Miss Tabitha Murphy, which you can see her. Look, I'm going to show her to you. Everybody, just say hello, Tabitha.
Hello, everybody.
That was fun. And then coming at you also too from big time Nashville, Tennessee is Mr. Jamie Galloway. Jamie Galloway.
Hey, what's up, Troy? How you doing, bud?
I'm doing good. I miss you.
I miss you too, man. We're going to be seeing each other in a couple weeks here.
We are
down in Texas.
Listen, I'm starting to eat. And by the way, you're really bad about that too. You'll just forget you're on camera and you'll just start eating.
Yeah.
There's food around. I do that all the time too. And it's not good. So
yeah.
I'm just going to try to not do that. I'm sorry.
Well, we're trying to make this Revelation Report real casual. So, you know.
Well, we have succeeded.
Yeah.
We have succeeded, my brother. So here in just a few minutes, Jamie, you and I will be joining each other. I'm going to talk to Miss Tabitha here for just a minute. But, man, you look good. You look healthy, man. You look full of the Holy Ghost, man. Come on.
Yeah, actually, I've been working out. And
really?
Yeah, I moved about 1,000 boxes from one house to another house. So,
dude, I've only moved in my entire life 3 times.
Oh, yeah?
And yeah, that's it. And so I lived in the same house growing up. We didn't ever move. When I moved when I got married, me and Leanna moved into a house, and then we were married for 3 years, and then we moved into another house. We lived there for 25 years, and then we moved to where we're at. So, yeah, moving is not for me, bro. I'm not a moving kind of guy, man.
Yeah. Well, that's impressive, man. I bet you've kept your friends that way because
I have no friends.
I noticed that whenever someone's moving, all of a sudden, none of the friends are able to be contacted by cell phone or anything. They're like, I'm out. I can't. I've got things to do. I'm making peanut butter jelly sandwiches. They give you all kinds of excuses, and so it was me, man. I did it all by myself.
I'm so glad that you did that. Jamie, we have Pam is joining us from Waterloo, Ontario. Tabitha, show us some other ones, Ladybug. You're a whole lot better at doing that than I am. Good morning from Livermore, California. Hello, Julie.
Hey, Julie.
Call you blessed, man. We love you. Call you blessed. And Carrie where's she from? She's from Kansas. Right on.
Kansas.
God bless you, Carrie. Man, we're so happy that you're here with us today. Columbia, South Carolina, Miss Jean. I bless you, Jean Bridges.
I like South Carolina.
Hey, man. Do you know Jean? Have you ever met Jean?
I've not met Jean.
I don't think I have either, man. God bless you so much. Christy is joining us from Virginia, from Newport News. What a cool name of a town. Why in the world do you think they named that town Newport News? What do you think that's all about?
I don't know, man, but we should look into that.
I know,
tell her do some research. Forward it to us.
I've always wanted to know, why is that town called Newport News? What is that all about? Gilbert, Arizona. God bless you, KL. Call you blessed. Right on. As we even have Missouri in the house. That's the show me state. That's always cool. And you know what, man? We're going to actually show you some really cool things today, because in chapter 7 of the book of Revelation, one time it says, I looked, and another time it says, and I saw. Right. But it's the same exact Greek word. And we're going to be talking about the importance of actually leaning into those things.
Wow.
We've gone through, I think, like 20 of these episodes, Jamie.
Yeah, 20. Has it been that much? That's crazy.
It is crazy.
Yeah.
And here's something else too that's crazy. Here in the next couple of weeks, I'm going to be talking to you about this right after we get through recording this. Let's do a Revelation Report marathon, where we put all 20 episodes up on our social media or all on our YouTube channel or something, and we'll do a marathon. How about that?
Oh, yeah, that'd be amazing.
Okay, we'll have to do that.
Yeah.
Okay. So, Jamie, you contacted our team and you talked to us and said, hey, man, I'm ready now to get off into Revelation chapter 7. And let's you and I kind of set this up before we get off into it. You want to?
Yeah, let's do that for sure.
Okay. So I'll rehash, and then you send us into the future. Okay.
Yeah, let's go.
So when we look at the book of Revelation, and when we go there, we're looking at all different kinds of timelines.
Yeah.
And we're looking at, like Revelation chapter 1 through 4 is all about the church and the church age and it's all about the right now. And then at verse 4, it goes into the future, and then a strange thing starts to happen. And this happens in apocalyptic books, like the book of Daniel is not in chronological order. Okay. And there are some things in the book of Revelation, and chapter 7 is one of those that is not necessarily in chronological order, the order of events that's actually taken place. And it's funny, like in Isaiah, there's this big complaint that you see the Ethiopian eunuch in the book of Acts complaining about the book of Isaiah. Is the brother talking about himself? He's talking about somebody else. Is he talking past, present, future? Is he talking future, present, future? Is he talking past, present, or future? What in the world is going on? And sometimes in the flow of the Spirit of prophetic writing, it's a little bit all over the map. And so you find that obviously the book of Daniel is not in chronological order. It's kind of like watching the movie Dunkirk.
Yeah.
Okay. Right on.
Yep. I know all about that.
At the end of the movie, you're like, oh my gosh, this thing was not in chronological order, but it flowed seamlessly. Well, the writers of Dunkirk is not the inventors of that. That's a prophetic style.
Yeah.
And when you get to chapter 6, we begin to get into the wrath of God. Okay. We begin to look at from 6 to, I don't know, chapter 12 or chapter 14. It's like really rugged, man. It's like rough. And then what you have is you had the breaking of the seals, you had the blowing of the trumpets, and you had the pouring out of the bowls. Okay.
Yes.
And remember, guys, the breaking of the seals, you got to think of it in terms of one scroll, which has to do with the deed to the planet Earth. All this is in Revelation chapter 6, and it's got one seal on it. You break it, you unscroll it a little bit, and you read what's written, and then you get to another seal. Then you break it, and then you go down a little bit more, and so on. Right on. Is that the way that you see it?
Yeah.
Jamie?
Yep. Okay. Every time they break a seal, something happens on earth, and it's like a revolt. And so you start to see this, and all the spirits of the demonic realm are revolting and causing famine and causing food shortage and war and ethnic racial tension, all this type of stuff. And so those seals, it's an important aspect of what is about to happen here, because they're revolting against Jesus, who's about to take back planet Earth.
Come on. Okay. So you and I have actually addressed the difference between the rapture of the church and the second coming. And we've also addressed, and we will have to continue to address it throughout this. We've also addressed the confusion and the disagreement over when the rapture of the church actually takes place. You lean towards like a mid-trib. I lean towards a pre-trib. Nearly all of my friends are post-trib guys. I mean, guys I really, really respect. And guys that I totally believe. Mildred's over here raising, get out of my room. What are you doing? But the deal is, we don't fight over all this because there is a mystery to it. And there's all kinds of incredible revelation that's involved in all this. And what we find is we can actually see 3 different raptures throughout the entire tribulation, which is cool. But there's also there's like, whoa, stop. No, there's the rapture of the church. There is the rapture of the two witnesses, and there's probably a big rapture of the church that goes with that. And then there's a final rapture that happens right before the return of King Jesus. And that's a whole nother 9 yards. But that way everybody can actually ride with him. Now that I've said all that, and by the way, if there's anybody here that doesn't agree with that, okay, that's okay, man. You don't got to agree with me. It's like, you know what? I love Troy, but he's full blown knucklehead when it comes to this or come to that. Hey, listen, let's walk this thing out together, and let's learn as the body of Jesus to actually contend for the faith and to step this thing out without being offended.
Yeah.
One of the reasons why, Jamie, that there is big time confusion on the timing of things actually is one is this. It doesn't necessarily say that as soon as the rapture happens, the tribulation happens. It doesn't necessarily say that during the tribulation, it's not absolutely definitive that that's when the rapture of the church happens. And I'm not really sure. There's a lot of things that the timing is just not certain of. We just know this, that we have to be ready any day. That's what it is that we know, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And today and next week, we're going to get into this, and I'm going to kind of allude to a view that I think really does give credence to a rapture here in Revelation chapter 7.
Okay.
And there's a lot here, and it really lines up with Matthew 24, the beginning of the four horsemen from Revelation 6. But Matthew 24, Jesus outlines this, and then he talks about the coming of the Son of Man. He says, "You'll see the sign of the Son of Man coming in the clouds." Now, what is the sign of the Son of Man? It's that he's the cloud rider, and so that's the sign. Jesus, his signature sign. They followed the cloud. God was the one who literally followed them in the wilderness, hovered over them. And so Jesus is the cloud rider, and he'll be seen coming on the clouds. That's the sign of the Son of Man. But what Revelation 7 shows, and it really is out of Revelation 6, we see this, that it's actually an every eye rapture, that the saints are caught up, but every eye will see it. And it will be no mystery that we're out of here. You know, there's a lot of videos out there, you know, where did they go? I don't know. And then maybe UFOs took them and all this type of stuff. Those are all things that people would say, but I really believe that it's an every eye thing, that every eye is going to see the church get raptured. And so we're going to get into that today, but there's a lot of things that have to lead up to that moment. And but I hope you're right, Troy. I hope in Revelation 4 that we all get caught up way before all this begins. So
well, listen,
I could be completely wrong.
Okay, listen, I bless your weirdo-ness. Like, I've never, even in my entire life, have I ever heard of an every eye rapture. I know the rapture as, you know, the thief in the night. That's how I know it. And I also know that it happens suddenly, and it happens when you know not, and everybody's like, what the heck? But I am very anxious to hear you tell me what that is. Now, I do want to say this. I do want to hear you. I do want to tell you this. As I was studying through Revelation chapter 7, one of the things that I came across as I looked at all of the study that's been going on for 2,000 years of Revelation 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, is that there's about a 90% agreement that the timing of Revelation chapter 7 is not in the same timing of 6 and of 8. And again, that's another good argument for me, by the way, but it's okay. It's not really an argument. It's just like and it has to do with, here's God in the midst of pouring out his wrath. He remembers his mercy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And it's just like, okay, in the midst of all this drama, now we're going to remember our mercy. I'm going to remember my mercy. But there is a definite seal on the foreheads in direct contrast of the seal on the forehead or the right hands of those who accepted the mark of the beast, or those who have sworn allegiance to the Antichrist.
Yes. Yeah. And it's an interesting thing. We're going to get into this. The 7 trumpets are about to be blown. We just walked through the 7 seals. Now, here is an interesting little nuance. While 7 seals are broken in heaven, and 7 trumpets are blown in heaven, and 7 bowls are poured out from heaven, the earth experiences 6 of those, not 7. And so when it comes to the seventh is something that happens only, and the reaction of the 7th only does something in heaven. And so in some ways you see this, there's 777 in heaven, but 666 on the earth.
That's exactly
and
right.
So they're experiencing 666, and it's like God saying, you want to worship the beast? I will let you know what it's like to worship the beast. And so it's an amazing thing. And we see this. And so the first seal, we ran through this. I'm gonna jump into this. You already talked, man, you were the guy that opened my eyes to this, how the 4 horsemen line up with Matthew 24. The first seal is the conqueror. The second seal is the conflict on earth. The third seal, scarcity on earth. And the 4th seal, widespread death on earth. And Jesus talked about these in a sequential order. And so do you want to say anything about that?
No, I think that we've covered it, man.
Yeah. And then the 5th seal.
I will tell you this. I do want to say this one thing, that it's interesting that the pale horse, I've done a big study on the word pale, and the reason why they translate it pale, that the King James boys translated as pale is because they didn't understand the color. So they're just like, we don't understand what that color is. And I think the closest translation that we can find is like a light green or transparent green, a weird green.
Wow, okay? Interesting.
Yeah, and that is interesting. And so yeah, it's indirect. It's a weird green because it's not life. Green is a color that represents life, right?
Yeah.
This is a weird green. And you know what it does? It unleashes death.
It's interesting. That I've never heard that before. That is fascinating. And so then we get into the fifth seal, which is the martyrs, and there's the cry of the martyrs. But then as the martyrs, the fullness of martyrs come in, and every generation has had their own experience of martyrdom, but there's going to be a martyrdom that is going to be unprecedented at the fifth seal, the opening of the fifth seal. And so the sixth seal, though, is the seal that opens up cosmic disturbances. And so all of a sudden the stars and the planets, the heavens are shaken, the sun and the moon are, the sun's dark and the moon becomes blood red. And this really is a proclamation. This proclaims Jesus is coming. And so everything starts happening. But when this happens, in between the sixth and seventh seal, it tells us that every eye is going to see him. Mm-hmm. It says the rich men, the poor men, the free, the slave, they all hid in the rocks and the caves and said, fall on us and hide us from the face of him who sits on the throne, from the wrath of the Lamb. And so every eye is aware of Jesus. And I personally believe that there's going to be no veil at that moment. They're going to literally see the open eye vision of the Son of Man, and that is him on the clouds. And it's going to be no mystery that Jesus is about to unleash the trumpets, the bowls, and reclaim earth.
Okay, so listen, I agree 10,000% with what you just said. Okay, here's where I'm not sure of. Okay, when it describes the pouring out, we're thinking because of how we're reading the book of Revelation. Again, this is just good stuff to talk out in front of everybody.
Yes,
because this is how you search out the scriptures. When it describes the pouring out of this, okay, when it describes the breaking of the six seals, the breaking of and then the blowing of the seven trumpets, and then the pouring out of the seven bowls, we're thinking in terms of the sequence being like the book is written, okay? That chapter 7 absolutely follows chapter 6, and chapter 8 absolutely follows this. But this is what a lot of people propose. And again, this is not confusing. It's just kind of trying to understand how do we search out these things. It's given the whole line. It's given the whole thing. That's what it is that it's given. Because I know, like Dr. Jimmy Evans, he preaches that at the end of the tribulation, when they absolutely know, I mean, there is no doubt that Jesus is coming back. And the only thing that people decide to do is, well, we got to go to war because we got to win this thing, because they're definitely on the wrong side.
Right.
Many of those people will try to die, and God will say no, because he believes that they actually live through the millennial reign of King Jesus, ruling and reigning, and that we rule and reign over them.
Yeah.
It's like, whoa, man. So again, the sequence, there's a mystery with the full timing of this. And there's I want to keep stressing that, because a lot of people, it will run people off. But dude, you got to love that mystery, and you got to love learning, coming to fun and really cool and theological conclusions out of how it's written and what it said. And that's what it is we're trying to do.
So good, man. So good. Yeah. And there's a lot here, especially right in the middle of chapter 10. And then if you continue on chapter 10, all the way, I believe, up to 17, you'll start to, chapter 18, you'll start to see that those are somewhere in the midst of all the trumpet, the bowl, all that stuff. And so why do I pick 10? Well, there's a line break in 10. And it says in 10 verse 7, but in the days of the sounding of the seventh angel, when he's about to sound, the mystery of God would be finished. And so, as he declared to his servants, so there's a finishing mark here. And you think, oh, wow, okay, he's done. Like, that's the end of the story, right? No. Then verse 8, it says, then the voice which I heard from heaven spoke to me again and said, go and take the little book which is open in the hand of the angel who stands on the seat on the earth. So he went and took the little book. He said, give me the little book. And he said, take and eat. and it will make your stomach bitter, but it will be as sweet as honey in your mouth. And I took the little book and out of the angel's hand and ate it, and it was as sweet as honey in my mouth. But when I had eaten it, my stomach was bitter. And he says, and he said to me, you must prophesy again about many peoples, nations, and kings. And so this, nations, tongues, and kings, this is that moment shifts things. And he's going, okay, we just literally covered from beginning to end, but I'm going to show you from a different angle what's happening on the earth in more detail right after 10 verse 11 and leading into the two witnesses. But we're getting ahead, man. And so this is good stuff.
Quit it, man. You're jumping up into chapter 10, man.
I'm on that Dunkirk. I'm on that Dunkirk timeline here.
It is so much like the movie Dunkirk. It's so much like that. It so is. All right. So let's get off into chapter 7 is where we're at. And we're going to get off into the sealed of Israel. Oh
yes.
My gosh. Right.
This is a big deal.
Okay. So I tell you what, brother, why don't you read for us, man? Why don't you read verse 1 all the way through 9?
Yeah. So it says, and after these things, I saw 4 angels standing at the 4 corners of the earth, holding the 4 winds of the earth, that the wind should not blow on the earth, on the sea, or on any tree. Then I saw another angel ascending from the east, having the seal of the living God. And he cried with a loud voice to the 4 angels to whom it was granted to harm the earth and the sea, saying, do not harm the earth, the sea, or the trees till we have sealed the servants of our God on their foreheads. And I heard the number of those who were sealed, 144,000 of all the tribes of the children of Israel were sealed. Of the tribe of Judah, 12,000 were sealed. Of the tribe of Reuben, 12,000 were sealed. Of the tribe of Gad, 12,000 were sealed. Of the tribe of Asher, 12,000 were sealed. Of the tribe of Naphtali, 12,000 were sealed. Of the tribe of Manasseh, 12,000 were sealed. Of the tribe of Simeon, 12,000 were sealed. Of the tribe of Levi, 12,000 were sealed. Of the tribe of Issachar, 12,000 were sealed. Of the tribe of Zebulun, 12,000 were sealed. Of the tribe of Joseph, 12,000 were sealed. Of the tribe of Benjamin, 12,000 were sealed. And it says in verse 9, oh, we're going to stop there. That's the line break right there. But how did I do, by the way? I was trying to do my best man. Alexander Scorby reading of...
man, you read well, man. That's
Alexander Scorby, if you've ever been... I'm a little old school in that way. I got that tape, Alexander Scorby, King James, Book of Revelation, man. And his voice was like thunder. And then I heard the voice. So what do you say about those, man? The 12,000 from each tribe. Why is it 12,000? Why 144,000? What are these numbers? You're the numbers guy. What's going on here?
Well, before I actually answer that, and before we start talking about, can we back up just a little bit and go to verse 1? This interesting thing of these 4 new angels that we haven't seen before. They show up and they stand on what's called the 4 corners of the earth. Now, that literally means on the 4 points of the compass. That's what
wow.
So there's a north angel, there's a south angel, there's an east angel, and there's a west angel. But I want to also tell you this too. We're also moving from 3-dimensional to 2-dimensional. Okay. And when it's one of the really cool ways to look at all prophetic things is the lens that it's presented through. Okay. So we know that the word of God says that the world is round way before it was ever discovered that the world was round. King David sang about it. And we also know that there's a circuit for this. There's a circuit that we're actually on that goes around the sun. All these things are actually revealed in the word of God before it was discovered by science. So we know that the word of God is not saying that the earth is flat, but it is saying that there are 4 angels, and one stands at the north, one stands at the south, east, and west. And it literally goes from a 3D look. Now it's going to a 2D look. Okay. That's a completely different lens.
Wow.
And then there is another angel. And some people would argue that this angel, I saw another angel ascending from the east. That literally means from the rising of the sun. The actual Greek language in that, Jamie, means I saw him from the rising of the sun. Okay. And that is another time thing. Now we're talking about time, and now we're talking about how time works. Okay. So it's like, okay, I saw, and this is coming. Now we see the kingdom is coming. Okay. It wasn't the setting of the sun. It's now a new day is coming. And this
Wow.
angel, and while some people would argue that this is Jesus, I would respectfully disagree with them,
Mhm.
because the Greek word is actually angel. It's actually
Mhm.
angelo. That's what it is. But this angel has a lot more authority
Right.
than the four corner ones do. And a lot of people that's kind of confusing to people, because they think that all angels and principalities are at the same level, and they're not. Right on.
Nope.
Do you agree with that?
I completely agree with that. That's good, man.
Okay. So, and demons are the same way. There's principalities or different degrees of authority, but this one is a bad motor scooter. It says, I saw another angel ascending from the east, or literally rising with the sun, having the seal of the living God. Now, this is what's amazing, is this brother shows up and he has the seal of God. And I
Wow.
mean, he's the keeper, whoever this guy is, he
Yep.
is the keeper of the seal of God. It's his job. Now, it's amazing. The different assignments, Jamie, that angels have always blow my mind. Like, one of my favorite unnamed angels in the Bible is the one that's sitting on top of the rolled away stone. And it's his job to announce to the disciples, that, okay, he's not here. He's risen from the dead.
Yep.
You know what? He's under so much pressure, Jamie, because I know he's been reciting this thing over and over and over again, that at the end of it, he says, now I said it.
That's great.
Yeah, I'm glad. I finally got it out. I've been waiting 10 million years. That's my assignment. And the brother is sitting on the rolled away stone. It cracks me up. It reminds me of the beginning of The Godfather, when Luca Brasi, like, he's trying to remember this speech to say to the Godfather. He's trying to remember, and then he's like, he finally gets it out, Well, this is that angel, dude, and that's his role, and that's his assignment. His job was to roll away the stone and to sit on the stone. You're making sure nobody's going to move it.
That's great.
And then he says to the disciples, he's not here, he's risen. Okay, and then he says, now I said it. Like,
now I said it.
Like, man, gosh.
Got that off my chest.
Right. Okay. Well, this angel that you see that you see here in Revelation chapter 7, he's been waiting for eternity with the seal. And he's had it. And he has to set up in a certain atmosphere. And the certain atmosphere is in the midst of these four. In the midst of these four who literally hold back the winds. Okay, well, the winds here literally it could represent literal winds, but I think it represents the judgments of God coming up on the earth. It says, stop it. Because there's two different places we can also see, and if we haven't already read it, we're going to read it, that at the, what is it? Is it at the one of the trumps where there's silence in the space of heaven for 30 minutes? Have we got to that yet? Have we read that yet?
Nope. That's about to happen. It's not yet.
Okay. So there's like, whoa, it gets still, super quiet. Okay. That happens on the earth. And it also happens that happens in heaven, but this happens on the earth. And it's a supernatural presence, where it's a supernatural atmosphere that says, okay, we're going to stop all this. We're going to stop all the judgment because God's got these guys marked out. And he's literally fixing to put a seal on their head. He's going to call them his beloved possession. And that's a big, huge part of the redemptive story that doesn't belong just to these 144,000, but actually belongs to all of us, who have been redeemed by the Lamb of God, that we are his possession, and none shall pluck us out of his hand. Okay. Now, in the days that this was written, one of the ways that you could tell of someone who was marked as the possession of somebody for life, if they did it for life. And you need to understand that was a different part of the economy. So one part of the economy is this: I come to you and I say, okay, Jamie, here's the deal, man. I will be your servant, or I will serve your house, or I will work with you for 5 years. And after that, I want this amount of money. And that's how that works. And you say, okay, dude, we'll do that. But if I said, here's the deal, you set up my family and give me a possession for my kids, I'll be your servant for life. There was a seal that went on your forehead for that. Okay. So he's saying, these ones here belong to me. They're sold out and they belong to me. And there is a supernatural sealer there's an angel in heaven whose job is to seal them and to make sure that it's recognized on earth and in heaven that these ones belong to the Lord. Now, we've already seen at the end of chapter 6 that there's a huge martyr thing that's going to take place. Okay?
Right.
I really believe with all my heart that this 144,000 are supernatural evangelists that God Almighty creates out of the house of Israel, and I want to address that. And the reason why I want to address that is because the word church is in the Bible 19 times up to Revelation chapter 4, and then you do not see it again until Revelation chapter 22. That's it. Where the focus is no longer on the church. The focus is now turning towards Israel, and it literally lists the tribes of them. Now that I've said that, can I tell you something else about that? Are we doing good? Okay.
Yeah.
It's this. It's true that these are actual tribes of Israel, but it's also true you cannot enter into heaven unless you're part of his tribe. Like, why would you say that? Because there's 12 gates and all 12 gates represent a tribe. So Jamie, you are a part of the tribe. I'm a part of the tribe. Even though I'm a rotten old stinking bacon eating Gentile, I've been sealed into the Lord, and I'm a part of the tribe of heaven somehow.
Yep.
Okay. And so there can be an argument that these are not actual Jews, but I think that they are. I think that these are actually of the house of Israel, and I think that these are actual Jews. Okay.
Yeah.
Before I get into the number, what do you think about that?
I really do think you're right. I think that it's hard for us to say that, especially in light of the rest of chapter 7, it's hard for us to say that these are not actual real Jews. And so, and I believe that the 144,000 represent the elect of God, elect unto salvation. Now, Israel is elect to serve God, but that doesn't mean everyone from Israel is elect unto salvation. And so there's a difference. And so, and Paul makes this very clear. He says, not all who are Israel are Israel. Not all who say they're Jews are of Israel. And so, but here, Jesus has these angels going out, sealing them, and saying, hey, get my elect, the elect unto salvation. And what does Romans tell us in around 11? Romans 9, 11, all throughout there, that when Israel comes back, how much more will it be for the whole world if Israel's casting away? It was an early church controversy that Gentiles could be saved. And people don't realize that. They think that this was always, we were always Baptists. We were all, that's what Jesus was, right? He came from John the Baptist. No, well, that's just not real. It's that Jews actually carried the gospel, and it wasn't until Paul's missions that all of a sudden the gospel's going out to the Gentiles. And the Jews, for the most part, have in some way been cast off, but that's temporary. It's not because God it doesn't want them. It's a temporary thing that all the nations could come. But here in this moment, we're about to see the Jews really, they're going to meet the Messiah. They're going to come to the Messiah, and it's going to be special.
And not only that, okay, again, these I believe that these are evangelists throughout the world. Okay, because Israel has not yet turned to Jesus yet. Joseph still has to be revealed to his brethren. When Jesus comes back, he's going to say, look at my hands and look at my feet and look at my feet, and they will see the one whom they have pierced, right? And at this point also too, Israel is worshiping by the blood of bulls and goats in the third temple. They're not yet messianic, but these 144,000 are somehow. They are next level Jesus evangelists. And I think a big part of the martyrs that it's talking about in that last bowl actually comes from the evangelism of these two guys and the two faithful witnesses, right? That we'll read about them in a little bit, who are absolutely Jews. And they're actually preaching from Jerusalem, Israel. And then it lists the tribes. It lists a number of them being exactly 144,000. And then it lists the tribes.
Wow,
I'm ready to get off into that. I'm ready to get off.
So good. Yeah, come on.
Okay, so here's the deal. Jamie, at some point in your life, if you haven't already, there's going to be a knock at your door. And there's going to be some really nice guys in a white shirt and black pants knocking on your door. And they're going to tell you that they're part of this 144,000. Do you have any idea who I'm talking about?
I have, and I've met several of them. And so Elder John and Elder Dan.
That's exactly right. We recently had a big group of them come to Open Door. They sat through our service, and then they came and met me afterwards at the VIP thing, and we treated them very sweetly, and they were very nice people, and we had a good time with them, and we blessed them, and they left. Okay. So who are that? That's a group that's called the Jehovah's Witnesses. Okay, what did they say? They say, look, we're part of the last 144,000 people, and we want to talk to you about the importance of you becoming. But the problem with that is there's 8.5 million Jehovah's Witnesses on the planet right now.
Yeah.
And brother, their whole theology is based upon this number, and there's 8.5 million of them. Okay, like, dude, I don't think I can make it in. Okay, I don't think I'm going to make that into. So I would like to define and say this: this 144,000 is not exclusive to the only people that are saved and the only people that are going to be saved. It's 144,000 that the four winds cannot hurt because they're sealed.
Wow.
And their job is to evangelize the world. And God literally does it. It says, well, you can thank the Jews one more time, you bunch of knuckleheads who actually believe in replacement theology, because God has a huge plan for Israel, and this is a huge part of it. Huge part of it. And they're going to go out, and then it lists the 12 different tribes. It lists the 12 different tribes. Okay. When it lists the 12 different tribes, there's actually one missing. And there's actually one there that shouldn't be there. And then there's one there that's missing.
Yeah.
So the one that shouldn't be there is Levi. Levi is not typically listed with the inheritance ever. Because Levi has a separate inheritance. And when you list the 12 tribes, you typically do not list Levi. Okay. But he is included in this, which is very strange, because up until this time, we see that Levi, his inheritance is to be the servants of the house of the Lord. But they don't actually get a piece of the land. Their job is to be priests. But here, they're actually evangelists. They have an inheritance, and it's a really big deal. And then you look through there, and then you go, who's missing here? Who's missing? Well, one is Ephraim. You don't find Ephraim in there. And Ephraim has been swallowed into Manasseh, and that's the way that works, and it's okay. And that's very explainable. But where's Dan?
Yeah.
Brother Dan.
He's gone. He's missing, man. Something's gone. Something's wrong with him. And I know that you've talked about this quite a bit, that the Danites, which is what Samson was, the Danites had in many ways forfeited their tribal right, their tribal privilege, but also their tribal responsibility. And so they were in some ways rebellious because they wanted to be a safe place for the world to connect with Israel. And so they're missing their responsibility, and they're missing their destiny. And so suddenly Dan is no longer seen in Revelation 7, even though he is one of the tribes of Israel, but yet he's missing. And why is that?
Well, you know what, buddy? You actually nailed it. The number one, they gave up their inheritance. They gave up their piece of the promised land. And they said, there's too many giants here. There's too much stuff. We'd rather get along with people rather than wipe them out. Okay?
Yeah.
And remember, Samson was like that. He didn't just wipe out the enemies of Israel. He slept with them. And a typical Danite. He'd rather be in bed with one than go into war with one. And anytime that you get into bed with the enemy, you reproduce more enemies. Okay? It's a supernatural principle.
Yep.
And so they went all the way north, and what actually happened was they were assimilated into the rest of the cultures of the world. They were Samaritans, they were this, they were that, they were all these things. But there's something else as well when it comes to the Danites that's very interesting. In the book of Genesis, whenever Jacob is giving his blessing, okay, to all 12 of his kids, Jamie, while I'm explaining this, would you mind pulling that up? Just look up Jacob's blessing to the 12 tribes and pull that up for me, please, sir. And I'm gonna walk through this. He gives he speaks a blessing upon his 12 kids, which end up becoming the 12 tribes. All right.
Yep.
And he starts off with Reuben, and he gives Reuben, and he says, okay, and he talks to him, and he gives a prophetic word to him. Then he goes from there to Simeon, then from Simeon to Levi, and then from Levi he goes to Judah. And whenever he prophesies to Judah, his fourth son, he prophesies that the Messiah will come through him. Okay. And that is a really big deal. That is a really, really, really big deal. But then when he gets to the tribe of Dan, he seems to prophesy the Antichrist will come through Dan.
Yep. It says right here, Genesis 49:16, starting there through 18. Dan shall judge his people as one of the tribes of Israel. Dan shall be a serpent by the way, a viper by the path that bites the horse's heels so that its rider shall fall backward. I'm going to stop there. It's not verse 18, but is that what you're alluding to?
That is. That's what I'm talking about. Okay. Well, most of the Jewish guys who study this, they believe that is actually, he's talking about the Antichrist is going to be reproduced through you.
Wow.
He's actually going to come out of the tribe of Dan. Now, look, I'm not saying that is definitive, but I'm saying it's there. And again, I'm sure that there's someone who can argue with that, but there have been scholars throughout the past 2,000 years that went, wow, that's why Dan isn't in there, because the tribe of Dan at that time is actually the world. It's everybody that is in allegiance to the Antichrist. And he's a serpent to what? What does it say that he's a serpent? What is it he bites the heels of?
It says he's a serpent by the way, a viper by the path that bites the horse's heels so that its rider shall fall backward.
Okay, so the point is to come against the riders. Who are the riders? It's us coming back with King Jesus.
Whoa.
It's like, I'm going to be at war with those who are coming back. I'm going to make you fall back. Well, we're not going to fall back.
No.
We're not going to. We're coming, and there's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah.
So, and of course, the name Dan actually means judgment. That's what the name Dan means. It means judgment. Okay. So Daniel is actually God is my judge. There it is again, right?
Yep.
So I just think that's very interesting. So when it says 12,000, 12,000, 12,000, 12,000, 12,000, that's also important. 12 times 12 equals 144.4. What do you have to say about any of that, buddy?
Yeah, that's all fascinating, man. I love it. And, some people would come against that and say, well, these people believe there's just going to be 144,000 super prophets, from listen, you can't be touched by Jesus and not become an evangelist.
Come on, brother.
Once you get touched by Jesus, it's not the exception, it's the rule. Once you get touched by Jesus, you're an evangelist and you get lit on fire. You want to preach the gospel and you want to bring people to the knowledge of Jesus. And so I have no doubt in my mind that this is going to happen. Whether you take it as a theological a stance or not, what happens when you fall in love with Jesus? You become an evangelist.
So good.
And so that's just the straight truth. But when it comes to the Antichrist, what's interesting about this, because it really is, this is the setting the stage. What we're talking about right now sets the stage because there's about to be a showdown between the Lord and the Antichrist. And Jesus from heaven is going to be squaring off with the Antichrist on earth and his kingdom. And so it's the clash of kingdoms. And what does the Antichrist seek to do? In Daniel 7:25, he tells us this, that he seeks to change times and laws. Times and laws. And so why would he do that? Well, he's trying to delay the coming of the Lord.
That's right.
He's trying to manipulate and see if he can get everything out of sync so that the Lord doesn't return. It's his only hope. Delay is his only hope because he knows he has a short amount of time. But what is that? And when Jesus says, I'm coming back, and he doesn't come back immediately, it's been 2,000 years. He says, I'm coming back quickly. Well, maybe God can delay a little bit longer. And this is what the enemy's trying to do. He's trying to, that Antichrist will come and attempt to manipulate time in some way. And maybe he has something a little bit more sci-fi. I'm not sure. I don't really want to speculate, but there's going to be something that he attempts to do to change the times, the laws. And when it says law, it's not just talking about the laws of the planet, no more corporal punishment, none of that type of stuff. That's not what he's talking about. He's talking about the laws in the Word of God. He'll attempt to change or manipulate the way that the Word is activated. And so Jesus talked about this. You, by your traditions, make the Word of God of no effect. And so what does the Antichrist try to do? He tries to make the Word of God of no effect. And so I think we're in for a really bumpy ride, but we know that at the end, Jesus returns and we're with him on them white horses. Even though all this stuff's about to shake down, Jesus has the final say. So this has been good, man. And I'm looking forward to next week, dude. We're going to jump into next week and talk all about the rest of chapter 7. and maybe a little bit of chapter 8. So strap in, guys. This is going to be really good.
Jamie, I want to say thanks so much, man, for joining me today, man. I appreciate you doing the Revelation Report with me every single week. And
Yes.
We're going to have a Revelation Report marathon on our social media here within the next couple of weeks that we're going to actually just put up every single thing that we've done so far. Boom, 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 boom. And we'll be sure and let everybody know about that. Jamie, how do people find you and what do you want to tell everybody?
Yeah, I've got a new book coming out. It's called Roman Numerals That Preach. And so I'm and gotcha. No, it's going to Galloway.com.
Oh, I have a new book coming out. It's called Secrets of the Seer Texan. And,
yeah, there you go.
And it's going to be out soon. I encourage people to look at that. Anyway.
I digress. Hey, we're having fun.
JamieGalloway.com, JamieGalloway.com. Jamie, I sure do love you, man. And you'll be with me again next week.
Yeah, next week, man. We'll do this.
Okay, man. I'll see you then.
See you,
guys,
buddy.
That's the amazing Jamie Galloway, my good buddy and my partner in crime, as we shared the love of Jesus together. Where, he and I are very prophetic people, and we just said, look, how in the world can we teach people to be prophetic people and live a prophetic life if they're not biblically prophetic? It just doesn't work. And so we're diving off into all this, and I'm so glad that he's with me, and he's so gracious to join me because he's a super busy guy. Also, another really busy guy is actually a gal, and her name is Tabitha Murphy. Miss Tabitha, how are you doing?
I am good. This has been great. So many people are commenting about how they're just loving all of this teaching. It's so cool.
Well, I'm loving it too. It's a lot of fun. I love that there was a comment on here where the guy said, what if all 3 raptures are correct? Oh, they are. Mm-hmm. There's no doubt. I have no doubt of that whatsoever. I do. And so I believe that. I thought that that's amazing. Guys, for everybody that's joined us all over the world, I want to say a great big thank you to you. And later on today, Tabitha, we're going to be doing a prophetic life, right? We're going to be talking. Yep. We're going to be doing that later on today. And that is our online community of drop dead, sold out Jesus freaks that we personally mentor. I personally mentor you through step by step, this by that. And we're going to be doing that. And how do people sign up for that?
People sign up at troybird.com. Just scroll down the homepage until you see the prophetic life banner. I can show you what that looks like.
Oh, really?
It will look like this.
Wow.
Yes,
that's snazzy.
And it'll be at 3:00 today. So all of you who are used to coming in at 1:00 know that it's at 3:00 today. So join us at 3.
Some additional filming. Now, if people don't like me and they like Jamie, how do people plug into Jamie? Like Jamie's got something like Dream Culture. And for people who don't have discernment and they like him more than me, I mean, they need help. Let's go ahead and let's send them over there. What is that? What is that?
Dream Culture, JamieGalloway.com. As soon as you get there, it's right there on the screen. So if you want to sign up to his online, just dream life with Jamie Galloway. I need to sign up. I need to figure out what it's all about.
I signed up for it, but I dropped it. Look, Jamie's still on. Look, I want to show Jamie. Look, just don't. I know you're still lurking out there, man.
I'm cracking up, man. I'm cracking up.
Dude, hey man, really and truly, what do you guys do in Dream Culture? What do you do over there, Jamie?
They make fun of you.
What do we do? Our focus is on dreams, supernatural life, spiritual things, prophetic things, and but we do a lot on dreams and visions, the seer realm, and mostly I just go through your books, Troy, and so
they're aware of that.
Yeah, we have a good time though, man. It's not just me. That's what's really cool.
I know you have really good people on there. I mean, now you don't have me on very often. I don't understand that, but I see you have next level cool people on there all the time.
I have next level cool people, and some of them are on prophetic life, and it's really cool because they all get on and they'll inform us what you were sharing, and so it's a neat thing.
Well, somebody says here that they're actually a part of both camps. Says I like you both and support both. I do love the study with Jamie. Oh, he's a great teacher. Okay, that's awesome. Yeah, why would you put that up there, Tab? You couldn't find one. I like Troy Brewer up there. So where is it? Does that have anything by your hands, heart? I love Jamie. That's great. More of that. Okay. Well, anyway,
That's
James,
great,
thanks
man.
again for joining me, man. I love you, brother.
Love you, buddy. We'll see you
Okay,
next
man.
week.
Okay. All right, Tab. Thanks so much for joining me again today.
Yes,
Right
sir.
on. Okay. And we will see you guys next week on the Revelation Report. I hope to see you tomorrow on Prophetic Wednesday. This
Yep.
same bat channel, same bat time. Until the next time I see you, I call you the head and not the tail, above and not beneath, and highly favored of the Lord. Bye-bye, everybody. Boom.